According to a new report published on March 1st, 2017, folks, that's just last year, by the Department of Health and Human Services of the United States.
That's a federal office.
Read that number.
About $3,363,282,409.21 have been paid for vaccine adverse reactions and deaths from 1989 to 2017 so far. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, you can't see our pretty faces yet.
No, because we're showing the screen.
Oops.
I don't know, we might be up in the corner or something like that.
Yeah, maybe you can see us. Can you see us at all?
All right, let's just get started. We've looked at most of the, obviously you want to, we've looked at most of the questions. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
We've looked, and there's hundreds.
There's hundreds. We're in the hundreds now.
And
everybody's scared.
I think most of the questions will be answered in some introductory statements that we make here. But we can't get to all the questions. I don't know how many of the, a lot of them are the same. A lot of them are in the same area, the same topic, mostly
coronavirus.
The coronavirus, COVID-19.
And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go.
We were going to show up in our pajamas, but we actually got dressed today. So yeah, Jack gave the most amazing radio show yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah. And he didn't get into viruses and that type of thing that we're going to get into today. But when that is up, and we might make it into a podcast because it was so good, but when that's up on our website, you got to all go watch that. That's just an amazing, or listen to it. It's a radio show. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We're not practicing social distancing.
We're too close.
So don't let the Salt Lake County mayor know that.
Yeah.
They're getting pretty nasty. I see a lot of names here popping up I do not recognize.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's great. A lot of new names. Great, that's good. So, should we just proceed?
Yeah. You gotta click in here because you're over there.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
there we go. All right.
All right.
So we've had sponsors in the past, and we have a sponsor now, of course.
It's us.
It's us. Yeah.
I threw this slide in today because my daughter-in-law asked me, she's only like 25 or something, and she asked me what we have this little Just the Girls thread with just my daughters and my daughter-in-laws, and we talk about makeup and silly things and clothes. And she asked yesterday, I'm how old is she? Probably 25.
At the most.
She says she's never done anything. She's never even worn makeup, base makeup or anything. She's gorgeous. And she wants to know what she can do to prevent aging. She goes, I don't feel like I'm aging, and so my other daughter got on there and says, well, mom is going to say it's an inside job.
That's right.
And that was funny. And
get ready. There's a whole bunch of stuff you're going to have to get.
Yeah, but then she went on to say, well, I have some fantastic products you can put on your face and sunscreen and all this stuff. And so, of course, I was baited. I had to get on, and I told her, hey, the best thing you can do, because my other daughter was saying, what about collagen? What about collagen? And I said, well, the best thing you can do is to be able to break down the proteins into amino acids that you're eating. And the best way to do that, and emulsify the fat, and the best way to do that is with long life energy enzymes. I said, if you want to stop the aging process, that marketing right there looks like it's a magic pill. It's going to stop the aging process if you take this pill. Well, no, it's going to actually help you break down your proteins and emulsify your fats and your carbs and everything else that you eat. Now, hopefully you don't eat bad food. And I said the thing that will aid you the most, of course, is toxic food and sugar and, cigarettes and pollution and everything that we're going to talk about today. But when you eat your good foods, your good fats, your good proteins, even your vegetables, you want to be able to break them down. And so the long life energy enzymes will do that. I didn't tell her about RNA, which can bring you back to your original blueprint. If you get an H spot or something, remember I used to have a big H spot here that I started taking my own long life energy enzymes and it went away because it remembers the last cellular replication. What RNA
That's very
does,
good.
yes, and what RNA does is bring you back to your original blueprint. So I didn't tell her, hey, do this and this and this. And I said, but if you don't eat well, then take some good supplementation that is protein and good vitamin C. And then take the long life energy enzymes, it'll help break it down. And so you will live longer, like our title says, but you will also not age as much. So anyway, I'm done. You can move on.
People are saying they can't see us. You're not supposed to. You're just supposed to see the screen right now.
So you didn't get to see my age spot that's gone.
Yeah, so.
You will in a little while.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. All right.
I don't know. We do this different every time.
And just for those of you who may be tuning in for the very first time, our website is now open to all. For a while, there was a restriction from Standard Process that limited availability of what we have to offer without going through a portal first of the symptom survey. And while the symptom survey is very good, and it is probably the next step for those of you who want to know what's going on inside of you, and forgive my voice, I have been long radio shows, early mornings,
and talking to everybody
preparing for
about
them,
this coronavirus.
answering phone calls, talking constantly.
We have been a little stressed.
My throat's getting a little sore. Not sore, it's just a little strange.
But Standard Process has never let anybody sell any products on the internet. And they can't see it. Remember, they can't see us.
Oh, that's right. I'm just spraying some herbal throat spray.
So they're now letting us do this. And you just simply go to our website. In the top left corner, there is a field for protocols. One in the middle is for products and one on the right is for podcasts. And you type whatever you want. Diabetes, you type flu, which we'd recommend right now because of the coronavirus stuff coming up.
Yeah, the protocol is pretty much the same.
Yeah, and we have been duly spanked that we can't say coronavirus, we can't say
Oh, you just said coronavirus.
I know, but we can't write it anywhere.
Okay.
I think they can't hear what I'm saying.
Well, fortunately, the internet spiders aren't finding
they're not
audio,
finding
just copy.
Well, they can find audio, but it takes a lot more work. But regardless, it's really tough. Boy, we are living in the dark ages of healing, that's for sure. On Facebook, you can't type coronavirus without only the CDC popping up. And on every single YouTube, they have a new banner that says, go here to the CDC. And there's absolutely no healing recommended. There's absolutely no nutritional support recommended. And so that's why we're doing this webinar today, to teach you what is really going on, the forbidden things you're not allowed to know. So for immune support, you would just type flu in the top left search bar. Now, so far, we still have coronavirus in our search. We may have to take that off, but just so you guys know, because it's all a little secret, type flu, and then the protocol for the coronavirus will come up, or any virus, or any flu, or any bacteria, or any cold, or any kind of immune,
Right, and these aren't offered as treatments.
No.
For the disease whatsoever.
They're support.
They're just support for the body to help the body get through the process that it's going through. That's all.
So there's our website, and there is the little protocol for diabetes. I suspect before long, we're going to have to take diabetes off our website.
Interestingly enough, the vast majority of people who are succumbing to the COVID-19 virus have previous serious bouts with diabetes.
Oh, yeah. And heart disease.
Yeah.
So you need to support the heart. Well, you need to support your underlying problem that you have, and then these immune supporting supplements will help too. So there's the immune supporting supplements for diabetes, excuse me, not immune. There's the supporting supplements for diabetes, or we're going to have to change that probably to blood sugar imbalance because we can't use a disease name. But let's move on. Jack, yesterday, like I said, gave the most amazing podcast, radio show, all these terms. This is a webinar we're doing now.
We do webinars, we do podcasts, we do radio shows.
It was incredible yesterday.
We haven't done an Oprah interview yet.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to interview Dr. Thomas Cowan soon. But replays of all the K-Talk shows are on, our webmaster is so overworked and he hasn't got them all up yet, but he's working right now as we speak to get this radio show up on our web. And it may be a podcast, it may just be a
So if they go to Simple
show.
Radio app, and then Wednesday morning Mountain Time, they tune into k-talk.com, or is that how it works, or how's it work?
No, you just type in K-Talk.
Just K-Talk,
Yeah.
K-Talk.
And I'm telling you, the Simple Radio app works much better than the ktalk.com.
Oh, their own, yeah.
Yeah, their own app doesn't work very well, but Simple Radio does, and you go in there and there's all kinds of radio stations. Type in K-Talk. You can use the dash or not the dash, it doesn't matter. And then put it in your favorites. And every Wednesday morning, Jack is on live, and it's a wonderful show. Yesterday was just incredible, so I wanted to highlight that. And then this is another forbidden, this happened in 1918. Do you want to explain it, what happened?
Well, one of the things that makes us really prescient right now, my daughter, Ashley, who is a NUCA doctor in Orem, Utah, put this thing up on her Facebook business page just to show a little bit of the history of chiropractic. Chiropractic was discovered almost accidentally, like most great discoveries, in 1895 in Davenport, Iowa. And it began to catch on very quickly because once they figured out what they had, it was very effective. People came to Davenport to learn how to do it. It started to spread around the country. Medicine had an immediate threat. So medicine of the day was making sure chiropractors were thrown into jail for practicing medicine without a license, even though there were no medical claims whatsoever. And long about 1918, when the Spanish flu showed up, interestingly enough, chiropractic back then, before vaccinations, before antibiotics, people understood if you had an infectious disease, go see a chiropractor. Today, the brainwashing and the programming is, well, it's all nonsense, foolishness anyway. If you think it's going to make you feel better, maybe it will. But it's just, maybe for back pain. Well, back then, it was for infectious diseases every bit, in my opinion, as it is today, because a good chiropractic adjustment is a big boost to the immune response. It's the sound of the reveille trumpet. It wakes up the immune system goes to work. Now, with that said, when people were dying left and right of the Spanish flu in 1918, especially in Davenport, as it says here, there's some pretty interesting numbers. People that went to chiropractors survived. Those that opted for drugs, mostly mercury and arsenic-based medicines. Obviously, that's calomel was the big medicine of the day, and that's mercury, mercuric chloride. And they died when they went to get the drug approach for Spanish flu. So anyway, this caught on really quick. And so state legislatures were, just almost attacked by chiropractic patients demanding that state legislatures pass licensing laws for chiropractors. And the thing that promoted chiropractic into the popular understanding of the day was the fact that it was so successful with Spanish flu. Now, when my daughter put this little picture up on her Facebook website, immediately she was told, take that down, take it down right now.
She got a warning letter.
Yeah, she got a warning.
Yeah, this is history. This is what's so crazy.
It's a matter of history.
Yeah, you can't post this article on your Facebook, on Instagram, on webinars, websites, anywhere. It's the official history of chiropractic in Texas. It was published by the Texas Chiropractic Association in 1978. in historical chiropractic news. So we're now changing history. We're saying, we can't post things like this. It's like book burning, except for it's digital burning. We can't.
Good.
Yeah, we can't have, we don't have the freedom to post stuff like this. So there's the link. Take a picture. On a Mac computer, it's Command-Shift-3. We'll take a picture of the screen. I don't know what it is on a PC. I think there's just a print screen.
There used to be.
Yeah.
With Microsoft.
Control-P, I think. No, that prints it.
Well, whatever.
I can't remember.
All right, we just wanted to bring that up because that's a part of history that if you are a licensed chiropractor, well, probably doesn't matter whether you're licensed or not, you put this on a page that is being censored, like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they will immediately come after you and tell you to take it down.
A warning letter. Pretty scary stuff. Okay, let's move on.
I like that, digital book burning.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, here's another important thing. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that whole screen there.
Yeah, more and more studies. I don't think you can do it on this page, can you?
I don't know. Well, it's kind of going off the screen. Oh, there we go.
All right. That's a very popular statement. If the germ theory were true, that germs cause disease, there'd be nobody left to believe the germ theory. Germs don't cause disease. It's a weak, degraded cellular structure that does, and we're going to get into that.
Did I spell that wrong?
And of course, it's
degraded.
Degraded. Yeah, that's good. So it was. Louis Pasteur himself, who proposed during his lifetime the theory of the germ theory of disease. It wasn't exactly in line with Koch's postulates that I talked quite a bit about on the radio yesterday, but it was pretty similar to that. You find somebody who's sick, you get some sputum or blood or something from a sick person, and another person gets that stuff, then they get sick. So there must be a germ involved, because this is about, they had microscopes then, and they had good microscopes, and they could begin to see these little things that Leeuwenhoek, the fellow who invented the microscope, called animalcules, because he could see the movement and the almost animal-like behavior of bacteria. So they came out with a germ theory of disease, but it is accredited or reported that Pasteur on his deathbed, his major opponent in the argument always said all along, the pathogen is nothing, the terrain is everything. In other words, if every one of you, and boy, there's a lot of you listening right now, if we took a throat culture of every one of you and amplified the presence of that culture, we would find strep bacillus in every one of your throats. But maybe none of you have strep throat, because the terrain is strong and healthy enough with the immune system to prevent an overgrowth of the strep bacillus. But when you get sick, in other words, when things in your life are compromising, and we're going to get to that in this webinar.
And why?
Things that compromise your own immune resilience so that that population can take over, then you're going to end up with a strep throat. And that's what Pasteur finally admitted at the end of his life. The terrain is everything.
Yeah, very important.
The soil.
Yeah. So, and that goes right along with this. Mark Anderson, the president of Standard Process West, said the single greatest predictor of the survival of an infection is the blood level of ionized calcium. So how do you get, if you eat enough calcium, how do you get it into your blood? Now, we all know vitamin D. That's the big craze right now, is massive amounts of vitamin D. And you do need some. You need the whole food vitamin C, and we're not going to get into that. You need to be out in the sun and all those kinds of things. But once the calcium's in your bloodstream, what has to happen? It's like getting on a bus and driving around and you can never get off if you can't get the calcium out of the bloodstream and into the tissues. And that is, of course, essential fatty acids. So you got to eat a lot of fish, or you got to take Cataplex F to push that into your tissues.
If you go to PubMed.com, which is where I spend a lot of time in research, it's where there are literally tens of thousands of research reports. The majority of them being peer-reviewed journal reports. And you type in the search area, calcium and immune system, you're going to end up with this many references.
They can't see you.
There's, I keep.
We can stop things and get that on.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I don't need to. I just made a big 6-foot reach with my arms. A lifetime of reading is available there at pubmed.com. And if you, there's another good place too. Another good place to evaluate research. I'll have to think of it. But that's a good place to start, because some of you, when you hear something on the news, or somebody in your neighborhood or family or something says, "Hey, I just heard this."
Well, here's what I heard.
You can go to PubMed, put in those items.
Mhm.
PubMed, like even this new hydroxy
Quinoline,
hydroxychloroquine.
See, we're not using that drug, so
Yeah,
we don't know the name
I
of
haven't
it.
prescribed that yet. So hydroxychloroquine, and there's going to be tons of research that comes up. Some of the research says it's the next best thing, since sunlight, and others will say, well, we did this and we didn't find it all that effective. But you can read it, look at the study design. I told Mary the other day, one of these webinars I want to do to teach people how to read a research report.
I'd love to do that.
But I'd probably bore you to death.
Well, but what I heard the other day was this infectious disease doctor talking, because that's all you ever hear on the news now. You don't hear nutritionists talking. I guess you all saw my Facebook post where I think the disclaimer should be that no medical doctor can give a prescription without first consulting a nutritionist.
Or at least equally consulting.
But what this, yes, or at least equally. But what this infectious disease doctor kept saying was, the first sign of a symptom, get to the hospital. Get right in there. Don't wait. Get in there, and we'll start taking care of you. So, we just had a real kind of a famous guy die of COVID in Utah. I think it was Ken Garf, and I'm sure he's very wealthy. He owns a number of car dealerships all over, and I'm sure he just got the best medical care you could get. Wasn't very old. I think he was about your age, babe.
He's pretty young then.
Yeah, that's right. But see, what he needed was to get in the hospital like everybody else. And if they want to do their medicines, they save lives, all kinds of things, especially a bacterial infection, which this is not. And I know they have antiviral drugs, but as we talked about on another podcast, I think it was our flu podcast, those can cause side effects of suicide, especially in children. So be very careful of those antiviral drugs. But they should have all had calcium. They should have just been pounded with calcium, and then, of course, Cataplex F or the horrible hospital food doesn't probably have nice, fresh, deep ocean fish that they serve you. And he died, and I'm sure he got real good care. And he did have cancer twice before, so that's a problem. So those of you out there that have had health problems, you've got to fix those. You've got to address those. Take our symptom survey to address those, and then you should survive this COVID without a problem if you take some supporting nutritional foods. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I'm just saying I think we're doing the antithesis of what needs to be done. Okay, let's move on.
The reason I'm jumping around here, Carol Peterson raised her hand.
Oh. Carol Peterson. Allowed to talk.
And I don't know what that means.
Click allowed to talk. Oh, it says Carol is using an older version of Zoom. You need to promote Carol Peterson to a panelist to talk. Okay, we'll promote her.
All right. Carol, you had a question?
We have our sound down.
Oh,
because we still have our music playing. Oh dear. Okay, we're gonna have to take a break and get out.
No, let's just. I think the best thing to do is write it on Q&A.
Just write it.
Write it in Q&A. Those are pretty.
You wouldn't know that computers are my background because this is crazy. Oh,
yeah,
here it is.
She's asking. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
She's asking thoughts about chloroquine for lupus.
Ooh, no, I would do protomorphogens. I mean, I don't know about hydrochloroquine. We're not experts on that at all. But I would definitely, whatever organ is being attacked with the autoimmune attack, you definitely get on a protomorphogen. We have a whole podcast on that. I don't know what number it is, but type in PMG in the search bar on the top right of our website, and you should see that website.
Carol's just in the office yesterday.
Oh, well, Carol, do a symptom survey. Or if you're a VIP, just text us and we'll give you all kinds of help on that. Okay, we got to move on because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Oh, you did.
All right. So what exactly is a virus? And that's the thing that's getting everybody's attention right now. And I don't see, I can't find my
Mouse,
mouse
there
anywhere.
it is.
There it is. So if some of you were able to hear the radio show I did yesterday, I got into this at quite a bit of length because you know what we ought to do is show that. I would like to do this. I would like to go,
sure.
let's go to that next picture.
There it is.
And
oops, go back.
It's easier for me because I get besieged by questions every day. And it's gotten to a point where I can't just go back to square one every single day with somebody where this is a new novel understanding of what's taking place out there. So I recommend I have a big reading list. These are some of the books I've been currently looking at, recommended by Dr. Cowan. He's an MD practicing in San Francisco. He practices what's known as anthroposophical medicine. It's something that's been around for about 100 years. And what it does, it's medicine that's based on promoting the wisdom of the body.
Woo! The whole body.
Such an idea.
Not just like the kidneys.
Not just looking at the body in a Cartesian kind of way, that it's a bunch of parts, but that it's a whole made up of parts, and that these parts communicate with one another. And so there's some books that have been recently published. The one I've been currently reading, I'm getting a kick out of, is Virus Mania by Klaus Kohnlein, that very first one that's mentioned there. If you could just, I don't want to take a whole lot of time because I don't have time to go through each one of these. So if you can take a picture of this with your computer, get a screenshot, and start looking up some of this stuff. And the Invisible Rainbow, I'm reading that right now by Arthur Furstenberg. And I'll probably get into more of that before this program's over. And don't worry, we're going to get to your questions.
Hopefully.
But the status quo has moved so far away from true science, following political ideas and motivations and energy, that they've left the truth behind. Now, some of the patients I talked to in the clinic yesterday are getting quite upset with what's going on right now as of April 2nd. Not just from an economic sense, but from a sense that something else is going on. And I'm not going to get into that. I might do that next Wednesday on the radio show. I'm not going to get into that in this podcast. But there is something going on. And some of these things don't add up. And you're getting barraged by a very heavy brainwashing influence where you see these numbers in these boxes on the screen with most of the other information that's relevant to what's going on being left off the screen. To where I have patients who came in yesterday who wearing masks, and that's fine. I asked them if they were contagious, and they said no. And of course, the CDC said don't wear a mask if you're not contagious. Unless you're going to be around contagion, that might help. But even then, his eyes weren't covered.
Your eyes have to be covered.
Which is a bigger transmissible area of the body than the face is. In any event, he was almost reluctant for me to touch him. And he stood on the opposite side of the room from me, as opposed to a couple other patients who said, hey, let's have a hug. Which I think is a much healthier attitude.
Let your dog lick your face.
Yeah, let the kids play in the dirt. That kind of a thing. So, and I'm bringing this stuff up because there is a hysteria that is developing. And I can't go back to square one every time someone's got a question, because there's a framework that needs to be laid down. And that's what these books cover. And they're up to date. They're very good. And they're presenting a whole new idea of virus. Now, when I was saying there, you know, that question mark that came up there, what is a virus? Because we don't see viruses growing outside of a cell. We only see them growing inside the cell, if that's in fact what they're doing. And when they take these viruses, when they find them, and they'll be in the blood, not necessarily replicating in the blood, but they'll find them in the blood. They'll take a sample, and they will, in a lot of cases, they don't even bother filtering them anymore, which is a terrible mistake to make because you're not really sure what you got or where it came from. But it will be presented under an electron microscope. And they look at it, they start to do their tests and their work on these things, and they find out that they're pieces of genetic material, DNA and RNA. And sometimes it has some proteins in it. And the virus is surrounded by a capsule that, interestingly enough, is made out of the cell membrane of the host cell. In other words, if they found a virus in the upper respiratory cells of the lung, and they took the exudate, or they took their sample, and they would find that the material, that the capsule surrounding the virus, or is the capsule the virus itself, they still debate these things, is made out of the same exact material as the lung tissue. Now, there's a new kind of thinking about this. I forget the term, exotome, I think it is. You can Google it, and it's observations of viruses leaving the cell itself by forming a little capsule on the virus comes out of the cell. It's not spewed out, you know, like you would vomit out something terrible in your stomach. It doesn't just come spewing out of the cell. It forms on the cell wall, and then it breaks off from the cell wall, and then it gets mixed in the plasma, the blood, the serum, wherever it's found. Now, did that replicate inside the cell, or is the cell doing something else? And this new understanding of virology, and I watch these daily news reports and these daily updates, hoping that by something besides brainwashing and programming, they're going to start talking about this new stuff that virologists are beginning to discover. That a virus may not be what we've been told it is, but it's mainly something that the cell is getting rid of because the cell is sick.
Whoa, that is really...
It's garbage coming out of the cell.
So the virus,
you know, back in chiropractic college, you know, decades ago, we have virology, we have immunology, we have bacteriology, we have communicable diseases, we have, we don't have pharmacology per se, but we have toxicology. In med school, you get pharmacology because you want to know what drugs to prescribe to your patient for whatever diagnosed condition they see. In chiropractic college, you get toxicology, which is to study the poisonous effects of these drugs upon the body. But you're still getting down to the nitty gritty of what these drugs are and what they're doing. And but we study a little bit about virology, the concept of what is a virus? What exactly is a virus? Well, several decades ago, they don't know any more than they know now.
Huh.
And back then, well, I said it backwards. They don't know any more now than they knew several decades ago.
you said that right.
There's a constant debate going on. Is it a plant or is it an animal?
The virus.
The virus, it has characteristics of being a plant, like a mold, like a fungus. It also has characteristics of being an animal. But when you get down to the true scientific analysis of the whole thing, this is where the new virology is emerging. And there's some very well-known people who have been involved with virological studies for decades who are coming out and say, hey, you know what? This may not be what we think it is.
And so Dr. Cowan is saying that it is an excretion of degraded
even
cell.
before he said it, there's several other virologists. He got it from these other virologists that I've been reading about in these books. That's why he recommends these books. I mean, Dr. Cowan didn't come up with this.
Right. And
He's just repeating what he has observed in his clinical practice. He's not a virologist. You know, he's a medical doctor. But when he goes after what we do, the foundational healing of trying to underscore the health of the cell, these things disappear. Now, was it some antiviral drug that killed off the stuff? Or is it the way they test the presence of the virus? And I could go on for an hour about this, but I don't have time. Because when they change the standard of how they measure the virus could be there or not be there. And so I know that sounds a little goofy.
Well, except for I want to bring it right down to where I can understand it, because I'm still trying to understand this. So when you have such massive cell degradation,
yes,
then what you're saying is it is the virus. Explain that to me.
The virus is made of DNA, particles of DNA, and particles of RNA, and the DNA specialists out there say that 20% of our chromosomes are really junk. We don't even need 20% of the chromosomal structure that occurs in the cells. You know that the DNA will make up the genes make up the chromosomes are what split when two cells, you know, 23 chromosomes from mom, 23 chromosomes from dad, brings us the 46 chromosomes in a fertilized egg inside a woman. Now, you break that, you get down to a point where a lot of that is just junk. It's not even necessary for human replication.
But Dr. Cowan is saying that they're actually viruses that have merged with our DNA.
Yeah, so the junk virus, the junk chromosomes that aren't necessary for reproduction and human development actually have started to merge with the DNA. And there is almost, I don't want to say new life form, because they're very reluctant to use that term too, but there's some really screwy stuff starting to show up in human DNA.
Yeah, like this virus, particularly the COVID-19.
Yeah, because they said they're unique aspects. Is that what they say? There's some unique, they call it novel, some novel aspects to this. And remember when the first reports came out almost 2 months ago, they had HIV strains, it had SARS strains. There was all the discussion that it was a man-made bioweapon. And of course, that stuff's still going. You're not going to hear the news people talking about that. But you find other people out there on the net discussing it with various published research from around the world and different places that were published, and then they were forced to take it down by very skilled virologists in India, for example. Now, I know I'm running out in the weeds.
Yeah,
And so the theory that I think is most reasonable here, this is the current developing theory about viruses. If you poison a cell, you're going to cause degradation of the genetic material of that cell. And the cell, either the DNA or the RNA, it's going to cause production of millions of copies of this poisoned DNA, and the body's going to package it up, and it's going to be sent out for one of two reasons. It wants to detoxify itself,
right?
But there's a messenger aspect that's involved with this.
This is so exciting.
Where these little viral elements are coming out warning the other cells.
And now we're standing 6 feet apart. So it's not only warning your cells in your body that there's
a new sheriff in town.
There's a new sheriff in town. When you get close to somebody else, it sends out these hormonal messengers, kind of like trees do. But this is an actual messenger. And now we're 6 feet apart. Nobody's getting the message that there's danger around and you need to start detoxing. And that's the cell-mediated immunity symptoms that we talk about all the time. When you get sick, and I'm always like, yay, your body works. It got a fever. It started coughing. It got diarrhea. Just like it's supposed to.
We often think
we call that sick.
Yeah, we think the virus caused that. It didn't. Your body caused that.
Your body did.
You get a bacterial infection. The bacteria didn't cause the symptoms. Your body is causing the symptoms.
Which is beautiful.
To get rid of the bacteria.
Yeah.
So, in other words, we know that these so-called viruses are not free living. We know that for sure now because they don't replicate outside the cell.
And they emerge from your cell, though, and we think when they emerge, when they do that, it's because you have broken DNA.
And that's the issue. What is
That
breaking
degradation.
down? The degradation. What is degrading the DNA inside your cells?
Yeah.
And that thing I told you about, it's ecozone, ECOZONE. It's a new area of research. And they're beginning to discover, you know, Mary and I, and if you followed us for a while, you know, we talk about the microbiome all the time. It's the bacteria that lives inside of your body. And they're finding a viroiome. They're finding a virus, not a colony, but certain kinds of degraded DNA wrapped up in a viral shell that exists inside the body that may have an awful lot to do with your overall health quotient.
I'd like to call
I cannot believe what I just read.
I'm gonna.
Did you see that?
No, I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna call it more of a messenger than a viral biome. More of a messaging, because the
microbiome is a messenger system.
It is. They talk to each other, and they're, you know, 90% of our body is the microbiome. 10% is our cells, and we're just a shell. But the essential question is this coming from inside you because you're poisoned, or is this an actual infection coming from outside? So that's
what we're going to get into quickly now, so we can get to some questions.
Okay, so
Purnima Kotha, one of our participants, as a former microbiologist and cellular and molecular biologist who worked on the AIDS virus, I totally agree.
Oh, good.
I'm vindicated.
No, we're trying to figure this out too.
The virologist from India, and she heard me, or he, I don't know if it's a he or she, I'm sorry. I talked about this a month ago when the Indians came out there in India with this, and these Indian researchers weren't, you know, some backyard.
It's a she.
It's a she. Okay. I'm sorry, my dear. They weren't some backyard, you know, college dropout people with a toy microscope. These are very well-known virologists in India who have a very good reputation. And they came out, and as she's saying here, they found the AIDS sequences in this virus and declared their suspicion that this could not have naturally evolved, which is why they were forced to retract their paper.
Now, are you talking about
Now, again, here's more digital book burning.
Yeah.
You know, I was taught how to read research papers when I was in school. I know how to read the design, to study design, and whether the design was put together in a way that could at least preclude a lot of outside influences that would affect the results. I read the majority of it, and I thought it made a lot of sense. And these people there in India who were doing this study, you know, other people commented on their study before the study was taken down, and these other people saying, "Oh yeah, this could naturally occur, but it would take 100,000 years for it to take place. It couldn't have happened in the way that it did without it being manufactured." So
okay,
there's
this new theory is called the exosome theory, where the body is where ECOZONE,
right.
ecozone theory, where the body's poisoned and it generates viral particles. These are pieces of DNA which it encapsulates, and they're saying this coronavirus is an envelope virus. Then it sends them out as messengers to the other cells in the body, even to other beings of other species. And they say, there's a new danger in town, you should defend yourself. And interestingly, this is what trees do. You guys have all seen Avatar and how all the trees, you know, talk to one another. Because if you notice, if you get a beetle infestation in a tree, in a forest, that tree makes messengers, because you don't see these trees breathing on each other. I mean, it's not like an infection, it's an infestation, okay? They're not like viruses because they're not pieces of genetic material, but they are chemical or hormonal messengers, which are then secreted by the roots of the tree, and the roots around the other trees, you know, they're not social distancing, where they've picked up this chemical hormonal messenger from the other trees, and then they start making an immunological reaction to defend themselves against the new beetle attack. So the same thing we suspect, it's hypotheses, happens with us.
We've got a good example right out here in the front yard.
What?
with that one tree right there at the corner between us and our neighbors
Yeah.
that looks like it's going to die
Die.
and fall over any day.
Yeah.
And our whole string of pine trees next to it, you don't see that at all.
Well, maybe they built up a defense.
Well, they've been there long enough that their roots must intermingle by now.
Well, our trees were there first.
Yeah.
So maybe they, I don't know. That, to me, that's not really making as much sense, because you'd think that tree would be sick, or our trees built up a defense. I don't know.
Well,
I think it was
I
shock
get into
from that
this.
tree.
I get into this and what Mary's talking about here to a much greater depth in yesterday's radio show, and we're trying to edit it right now.
Okay. Yeah, we
Go ahead.
are. These viruses, and the reason, this Dr. Skip Virgin, if you've heard of him, he says that these, quote, viruses are the rapid deployment system, because the usual sort of mutation theory of waiting for, you know, selection of survival of the fittest is way too slow. We'd all be dead from this corona, you know, this, every coronavirus, every rhinovirus, everything that's out there. So these messengers, and we're blocking ourselves with masks, and we're blocking ourselves with social distancing. They're the rapid deployment system to say, hey, there's a new danger in town, and we're stopping that. So these organisms, these, quote, viruses, have learned to send out these pieces of genetic material as messengers to get other members of the species to do something. Let's get some white blood cells going.
So when you see a bunch of people getting sick and you say, well, this kind of looks like a contagion, because, you know, they're contagious, all these people in the same place getting sick.
But it may be nothing what we thought it was.
Well, you know, it's just like, and I'll finish with this and we'll move on. It's just like Hiroshima in 1945, or 46 actually. And no, 45, yeah. When they dropped the bomb, a lot of people in the same place got sick. It wasn't an infection, it wasn't a virus, but over time, the radiation spread to other villages and prefects, and they got sick. And that wasn't an infection either. Even though they were seeing the same set of disease symptoms from one group to the next, it was not an infection. And the same thing happened with Chernobyl. You know, it starts in one place. A lot of people, the same place gets sick, it starts spreading, and people all over Europe start getting sick that are downwind of Chernobyl, but it's not a disease. It's not an infection. So the tendency of modern medicine today is when a lot of people get sick, oh, there must be a virus. So I do the dolphin thing and then we move on.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think this is important, because when that starts to spread, you know, that radiation poisoning or this virus type thing, it should be a big red flag that we should be supporting. You know, our body should make an immunological reaction to this. We need to start, you know, our thymus gland needs to be supported. Of course, our liver and our kidneys, and calcium is apparently, you know, with the calcium wave that it goes into a cell and just implodes those envelope viruses. So we can excrete it out quickly. We should be doing enemas. We should be supporting our organs of excretion instead of, you know, throwing just medicine that hurts our microbiome, that maybe hurts our viral biome, maybe hurts these messengers. You know, I don't understand where they're going with this. It's going to come out next fall, they say, because, you know, we're going to get out in the sun and have a lot of vitamin D, and we're going to be able to absorb more calcium, and it's going to go away. What are we going to do? Are we going to all be in a bubble for the rest of our lives? And then we're going to digitally burn all the books that teach us how to build our immune system, and they'll take down our podcasts and all these things. So,
Well, it seems to be moving.
So there's good thinking that these things that we're ascribing to infectious etiology are actually poisons.
Yes. Now, let me give you this last example. Some of you have heard me talk about this, but you know,
I'm gonna drink my tea.
It's as if it's if you were in the world's most famous dolphin doctor, and you knew about these dolphins more than anybody else did.
You were an expert.
I mean, you were a walking dolphin encyclopedia. And if anybody had any problems with dolphins, they're going to call you up. So down in the Galapagos Islands, or an example I used on the radio show was up in the Arctic Circle. I like that one better because there's a good reason behind it, at Barrow, Alaska. And you're a famous dolphin doctor. You're down here in the States or Canada, wherever else. and they call you up and they say, hey, we got a bunch of dead, dying dolphins up here. And we don't know what's going on. What's the problem? We need you to come up here and help us out. But you can only ask one question, which seems kind of odd.
Yeah.
But this is the way the media works. You can only ask one question. And question, well, A would be, do these dolphins have a genetic disease?
Oh, we can blame it on our genetics.
Yeah, which
Or
would be that's a stupid question.
Yeah. Also, all of a sudden, a gene just turned on, and they all died.
Number two, do the dolphins have a virus?
Mm.
Can you give me send 2 of these dolphins down here so I can open them up and see if they have a virus?
Well, maybe they're giving messengers to everybody, and they're not healthy dolphins, and so they die.
Well, the
just
reason
like people
we
that
want to
die.
find out why they died. The third question is,
Well,
all right, who put toxic crap in the water? And they kind of look at each other like, well,
that makes the most sense. They all died all of a
let's
sudden.
don't talk about the Exxon Valdez, a few months earlier that spilled all that oil in the water, and suddenly all these dolphins are dying months later, and it's later enough that you don't normally connect it to the presence of the oil spill. I think that's what's happening here. Now, what is poisoning the people?
Well, let's show you. This is a big culprit right there. This is a smart meter that everybody's getting put on their homes now. In fact, I think just about everybody has them now.
We have it on our house, but fortunately it's on the other side of the garage.
Mm-hmm. And it
we're going to be talking about RF here. That's one thing. There's several other things that are going on.
Because this is part of the poisoning of the water. This is part of
this is the poisoning of the air here.
Right, but I just mean for the dolphins.
Oh, for the dolphins.
For the dolphins.
Now, what poisoned the dolphins?
So
what's poisoning humans? That they have similar characteristics in Wuhan, China, and northern India, and also in Seattle, Chicago, and New York.
And those with degraded cell structures are most affected by this. This is why it's so important to be able to withstand these types of toxins. Now, this is an experiment they did where they stood somebody in front, a foot away from this smart meter, and there's before exposure and after exposure, and they only left them there. Well, that person was 2 minutes. The middle
1 foot away.
1 foot away. The second one, you can see the degradation of the cells, 2 minutes, and then the third one was only 45 seconds. They said she couldn't handle it anymore. She got a horrific headache all of a sudden and some other symptom. So the radio frequency research has not been done on health, but there's been a few industry studies, and there's been a whole bunch of non-industry
that graph
studies.
there in the bottom right shows you when a non-telecommunication industry studies the harmful effects of RF, which is coming out now in the form of 5G. Well, you already have it 1 through 4G. 5G is going to be the killer. 70% of the research reports on the harmful effects of 5G supported by non-industry studies, 70% said it's harmful. When the industry paid for the research, 68% said it had no effect on human health.
Yeah. Okay, let's move.
So people are asking me, well, what do I do? What should I get? Well, this is, well, we both did it, sorry. We both did it.
There we go.
I just ordered this electric field. It's a tri-field TF2 model. And it's about it's $168. Got it within 2 days from Amazon. I have gone around the house, and it is amazing, the electrical fields that exist around this house. Why am I bringing this up? Because we know that Wuhan, China, was the first place for a full rollout of 5G radiation upon the population.
I'm going to try and get our pictures on because I want to show you. Get out of here. Stop share. Start video. And then maybe we can turn off the music. Where's the music app, babe, on your computer?
Down here.
Okay, I'm going to turn that off. Then we can turn up the sound. I don't know if that helps.
I don't know, maybe.
Quit. And let's share this again. You can keep talking.
Well, I just want to, what are you going to do?
I'm going to go.
I wanted to show my tri-field.
I know, that's what I'm trying to. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, they can see us right up there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll put it up over here. It's my oh, there's glare. It's just like the one in the picture.
There we go.
And, oh, let me give you an example.
Turn it so you can see the number.
Anything under 50 is considered okay. This is for shielded electrical fields.
Thank you, Apple.
I don't know if you can still hear it. Now I'm getting towards the power supply. Now the red setting here is the RF field. Anything under 0.2 is considered okay, but you can see the pulsing effect, 0.5. Oh. Anyway.
Okay, so I want to show you. So we went through the house and then we realized a lot of it was on our bodies itself. So my Apple Watch here, I got this Apple Watch. Oh, I don't know where we got it.
Amazon.
Yeah,
No.
It was a separate website, but it's got this little thing on here that neutralizes the RF. We got these necklaces we're wearing. When they turn on the real 5G like they did in Wuhan and on those cruise ships.
Pornima, EMF is huge. The nursing facility in Seattle, Washington had 5G. The facility was boasting about their 5G. 5G is huge. Also, Wuhan is one of the first places. And the cruise ship. You get these people on the cruise ship who had no connection with the Chinese. Suddenly they got coronavirus all over the cruise ship.
So what
they bragged about how they were the only cruise line with full 5G Wi-Fi, so that when you go out to sea, you got complete communication with your family.
So that it causes degradation of the cells.
Which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that when the DNA inside the cell begins to degrade, that sets you up for a whole host of diseases. Now, it's not just the 5G. Let's get to the rest of the pictures.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so first, do no harm. Here's the cellular degradation. And we took this thing around, where is it? We took this meter around town and we went up I-15, that's the big interstate in Salt Lake City. And this thing went insane when it went by these towers. And sadly, that just makes me cry. They're all around elementary schools.
Yep.
It's the saddest thing. And listen, when we were going up I-15, those were at least 5 blocks away from us. We must have seen maybe 5.
Yep.
And this thing would go way down to nothing almost, which was nice, on I-15. And then we would see one of these off in the distance, about 5 blocks away, usually around a school. And this thing would go so high that it wouldn't register it anymore. It went up to 1,000.
Yeah, it limited out.
It limited out.
And that's mostly 4G that you're looking at right there.
Yeah, I can't imagine
the
what's going to happen.
5G is coming behind that.
So this is very important. You have strong cellular structures.
Now also, the international poisoning of our food supply by glyphosate. It's everywhere. And we know that glyphosate caused cellular degradation of the DNA. And then we also have,
sugar.
We've been talking about sugar for years now, and the effect that sugar has on the immune system. And then we also know that in Wuhan, for 6 months prior, there were massive, almost mandatory vaccination programs. Same thing happened in northern Italy.
Which put aluminum in their bodies.
But one of the big things
and mercury.
is, if you look at some of the earlier pictures of Wuhan, you can't see the city because the smog is so thick, the industrial smog. And that was one of the things that's hurt tourist business in northern Italy. They're at the foot of the Alps. The air gets trapped. They have a lot of industry in northern Italy, and the same thing. Northern Italy looks so much like Wuhan did. So you're getting it in the air, you're getting it in the water, you're getting it in the food, you're getting it through microwave transmission. What's a person to do?
Well, the big one is the next picture.
Oh, and then on top of all of that is the stress of watching the daily news reports of COVID-19.
Yes, and everybody's getting so scared. That's degrading their cells. If you go to our podcast 101 with Bruce Lipton, he talks about epigenetics and how it actually creates a chemical cascade in your body when you are stressed. The other podcast I would recommend you go listen to is podcast 123, which is Everything is Always Working Out for You. So those are, I think that's probably the most important thing. along with eating well and supplementing also, but the stress of the fear that everybody's feeling is just crazy right now. And it's, you know, maybe it's good we're social distancing because we can't get those messengers to each other, because we don't need any more poisoning of our water, or as Dr. Cowan said, putting shit in our water. I mean, that's what's happening to those dolphins that died all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's Exxon
The
Valdez.
epidemic, yeah. So
There
we
was no
have
virus.
our water, quote water, the air, the food, but the stress is huge. So what we put together was a little, well, it's not too big, a 5G EMF defense protocol. And this is, the first product is RNA. And as we talked earlier, this takes you back to your original blueprint. This is the second messenger of the cell, and it's very important to keep that healthy. I don't know if you want to say anything else.
No, that's good.
And then ginkgo, that's so tiny on our screen. Ginkgo, the ginkgo trees in
Both are pronounced correctly.
Hiroshima?
Yeah, both of them are considered correct.
Yeah, so the ginkgo trees, which everything was annihilated, and they thought they were dead, but they weren't dead. They came back to life that next spring.
The next spring, they started blooming.
Yeah, so this ginkgo forte is an amazing herb, and I would recommend you start strengthening your cellular structure with this ginkgo forte. Then cellular vitality, it's a very underused product with standard process, and it's a wonderful product. Can't really, it's so tiny, but it's got, of course, the B vitamins for your nervous system, which you need strengthened. I can't read it. CoQ10. I mean, it has, I think it has protomorphogens in it. It's an amazing,
Well,
it's a really good product.
Food for the mitochondria.
There you go.
Which are the energy producers of the cell.
Then neuroplex. Neuroplex is really critical. It's got the protomorphogen for the nervous system, which 5G and the cellular degradation is made. Can I tell the quick story of our vacuum?
Yeah.
Apparently with this 5G, they can tell how many people are in the house. And I don't know who they is, but literally they can see people where they are in a house. I think this is how they knocked off Dr. Gonzalez.
Now you're getting
I know, that's real conspiratorial, but I'm telling you, I went out to New York City and talked to Linda Isaacs, the doctor that worked with Gonzalez, and he had no problems. His autopsy, he didn't have a stroke, he didn't have an aneurysm, he didn't have a heart attack, he wasn't poisoned, he had no problems, he didn't have cancer, he didn't have an underlying problem. He talked about EMF pollution all the time. He actually had those little things, I suppose, because he talked about them all over in every one of his outlets. He had these little EMF disruptors. But you were telling me privately that you thought, man, they could triangulate with this and just take him out. Why else do we have a law back from 1996 that President Clinton signed that says you can't do anything about somebody putting big...
It's the Telecommunications Act, 1996. Section 704. You can look it up for yourself.
You can, if they come up here and they stick a big
5G antenna
tower
in front of your house. You have no rights to do anything about it.
And why? Clear back then in 1996. Now it's 2020. And I think Gonzalez died in 2011?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's the saddest thing. But anyway, the story I'm going to tell you very fast is we got a new Roborock vacuum, you know, those little Roomba type vacuums for Christmas. And when I turned it on, and then I opened up the app, it comes with an app. Literally, understand, this vacuum had not gone anywhere in the house. I just turned it on, I opened up my app, and it mapped our entire house. It had where the couches were, the bed was, the stairs, the coffee table, the counters. Of course it could see where we were. Of course. It mapped our entire house. So it freaked us out so bad. We were like, this is our floor plan, but with furniture. I mean, I did take a picture of it. Oh, I should have put it on here. Anyway, then everybody know our floor plan. Talk about a privacy invasion. But if it's used in a weapon type way, you know, a targeting, it could be really bad. So we have to get rid of that. And here is...
Here's another question about vitamin D. That was a very good question. You were talking, Dennis. Generally, we don't want to take vitamin D, we want the calcium in the tissues.
No.
But if infected with a virus, we do want to take vitamin D to fight an acute infection. Yes, of course. Vitamin D is primary. Vitamin D is, they want to list it now as a hormone. It's a steroid-based vitamin that they think has more hormonal effects than it does vitamin effect. Vitamins are just enzymes. However, vitamin D is essential to get calcium out of the gut into the bloodstream. Too much calcium, too much vitamin D will bring it out of the tissues into the bloodstream. So there's a balance between that and F, which are the antagonists of one another. Now, if you're getting a lot of sunshine, as you're going to do during the summer, you don't need to be taking cod liver oil. During the winter months, you do. This is what you and I were talking about last night. When you're dealing with something like what we recommend with a healing triad, calcium lactate, cataplex F, cataplex C, to boost the immune response, that's different when you're dealing with a protagonist and an antagonist.
Right.
When they have this kind of an effect with one another. And F is what balances too much D. Now, how do you know how much of which to take, was the bottom line here. Do you take 3 of this and 3 of this? No, you take the vitamin D to make sure that you're getting calcium out of the food, through the gut wall into the bloodstream. How much vitamin D do you really need? Can you take too much? Yeah, you're going to start getting muscle cramps.
Yeah.
You're going to start getting joint pain. Then you up the F. The F will bring those things down because it creates the harmony between the two. That's the best way to regulate how much D you need. Now, during the summer months, when you're getting plenty of sun, you're getting all the D you need. If you've got twitching of muscles, twitching of muscle eyelids, Charlie horses, then you're going to need a lot more F to balance out the effect of D.
Okay, that's really good. And this EMF defense protocol actually has a few more products underneath it, like the Cyruta Plus, like cod liver oil, which has vitamin D and vitamin A in it. And I can't remember, but there's a few more. But those 4 are very critical. Of course, I've got the calcium, cataplex F, cataplex C, and some other stuff underneath there. But these are in order of importance, we think. You may think differently. So you just search up in the top left bar. You can't type 5G. You have to have 3 characters. I don't know why our website's set up that way. But the EMF, if you just type EMF, then it will come up.
Yeah.
Okay. This happened last fall. This is doctors not here in America. By the way, I had to translate this website.
Germany.
I think it's Germany, Austria, somewhere. But they're protesting. They said a group of doctors campaigned for patients suffering from electro smog. Around 3 dozen medical professionals. Can you move that right there so I can see what it says?
Yeah.
Oh, moved to the 3 dozen medical professionals moved to they went to the state ministry. It's in Stuttgart. So it's a good article. You can take a picture of that. But it's funny that there's countries in the world that don't allow 5G.
Oh yeah, they're always starting to ban it in some European countries.
And what did we do back in 1996?
And where do you not see any coronavirus? If you look at the current world map of coronavirus,
I don't know.
Africa, Central Sub-Saharan Africa.
They eat blood and raw meat.
Yes, they do. Yeah, the Maasai. They have no 5G. There's no 5G.
But as we showed, there's other poisons. There's a high fructose corn syrup that causes cell degradation and all the other things. But the 5G is going to be, we here at the Forbidden Doctor think it's going to be,
well,
it's going to be an extinction level event. In fact,
existential crisis, an extinction level event. Yes.
An extinction level event. This is an incredible video. That I shortened this URL so you could actually write it down because it's really long. Well, I'm losing my voice too. I got to stop.
Or
yelling.
just go to YouTube, search 5G apocalypse extinction event.
It might get
as long as they leave it. Well, it was there. I was watching it last night.
I know. Mine said it was broken yesterday, but I don't know. Anyway, it's incredible. We downloaded it because I don't want to lose it. We didn't transcribe it yet.
No, a lot of experts, a lot of testimonies before Congress, congressional hearings, congressional meetings, where experts were brought in testifying before Congress, and then Congress, of course, went on and passed the Telecommunications Act, because we know who they work for.
It's a long video. I think it's 40 minutes, but it's worth it. Okay, so
Do you dare move to the next stage?
yes, we need to.
All right, so we will stay here as long as you want to stay here.
So move.
There's still a
Click right there.
huge crowd
Click right there.
that's out there.
There you go. Okay. We're ready.
Well, we've never done this before, but we've never felt so impassioned about something.
Yeah, we have a lot of people online today too. So,
normally this is an hour long. Last couple have been an hour and a half. But you want to start bringing up the questions?
yeah, we can. Also, most of them are about coronavirus. So I think we answered a few of them. What happened to our chat? Our chat
I
is
think it
gone.
might be behind this.
Nope.
Let me just open it up.
Where's our chat? Oh, there it is. And you can type in a question on our chat or scroll down. Oh, there's a bunch here.
All right.
Oh, no. Okay, and then Purnima also said, talking about conspiracies, please check out Event 201, developed in 2011 or so, detailing a global event like this right after a group of elite billionaires met in Europe in 2010. Anyways, just something for light reading. That's scary.
Now, I know that some of you probably have things you got to do. We'll stay here.
Okay, let's
as long as there are people that
jump in.
are crazy enough to listen
We
to us.
had hundreds register for this webinar, and I'm just going to go through some of the questions here. What's your major health concern? That COVID-19 is not what is said. The economy will be destroyed worldwide. This will be the greatest depression ever. That's not really a question, but I think we covered that. That's kind of scary.
Yeah,
Let's say not. Let's say not. Let's say we're going to build, you Forbidden Night doctor members out there, we're going to build our cell strength. We're going to be able to withstand this. We're going to hug more and get these bacteria and viruses and these messengers to our body. We're going to fight them off. We're going to strengthen our bodies. We're going to eat right. We're going to get rid of sugar as much as we can.
I need to do a shameless promotion for a second.
Okay.
I'm thinking about once a month, maybe even twice a month, writing out a physical newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Health Alert.
Dr. Bruce West.
Mary and I are in business
negotiations
with Dr. West now regarding the future of Health Alert. I'm wondering, this would be a paid subscription. You know, like we have the monthly thing, VIP webinar. The VIP thing that we do, where you can text Mary and I and Carrie and get your questions answered as best we know how. But I'm thinking of writing a physical letter once a month.
Yeah, because it's easy for them to get rid of digital books.
Yeah, digitals disappear.
But this is a little harder.
This is something to be laying around on the counter. I need to know if you'd be interested in subscribing to something like this. What I'm thinking is
it'll be cheap.
12 editions, maybe $39 for an entire year of 12, and it would be 8 pages long. Multiple subjects would be involved in it because there's just so much going on right now, and we're kind of running out of time getting the word out. But I could sit down and I could type out an 8-page report. I just need to know. You can email info.
Info at forbiddendoctor.com.
Info at Forbidden Doctor.
Or text it right here.
Or text it here. Yeah. I just need to know if you would be interested in paying for something like that.
Okay, also I wanted to show this coronavirus support, what to do before the flu, during the flu, and after the flu. That's podcast 136. It's a video cast, actually. It's got pictures. It's really cool. And, you know, nobody knows about this stuff. All we are allowed to know is wash your hands. There it is. Yeah, wash your hands. We're in the dark ages of healing. I think that's so cute.
It is cute.
He's washing his hands.
That is cute.
I don't need to explain that, sorry.
I stopped watching the daily coronavirus reports because I gave up hope.
They're not going to say
that
anything.
Someone will come out and say, build your immune system.
No, we can't even use that word.
That in the report, instead of just saying, this is how many have contracted it or been diagnosed. This is how many people have died. Well, show me some demographics. Show me who's dying and what they're dying from. I have a very good friend who's a nurse anesthetist. And this person has a community around the country of other nurse anesthetists because they work privately. And this person said to me the other day, what we're finding out is people are dying with COVID-19. They're not dying because of COVID-19.
Everybody
They're dying
has that
from all these
sequence.
other things.
They have
And
that.
not one word of the tens of thousands who have died from flu so far.
25,000 this year.
You haven't heard a
Of flu.
word about the flu
Are they
vaccine?
overrunning the hospitals?
This time
No.
last year, all they talked about was flu vaccine and influenza virus and the thousands of people dying. Not one word of that.
Not shutting down the whole economy. So here's what I'm taking. This is a little pack that I carry around with me. That's my nightstand next to my bed.
This is a miniaturization, believe me.
It's kind of crazy, but hey, I want to build
But
my
look at
cellular
those cheeks. You
structure.
wouldn't know she was 85, would you?
Anyway, there's kind of a list. It's not even all of it, but these are more when you get sick. It's not so much building the immune system. That EMF protocol for 5G is probably one of the best for strengthening your cellular structure and defending yourself. But we've got the message loud and clear. The media has sent out the messenger for the virus saying nothing, actually, but they're saying wash your hands, stay apart.
Close down your stores,
and
close up your business,
live in a
don't
bubble.
go home, watch Netflix,
And
keep your
declared martial
local
law.
food delivery service alive through Grubhub.
Yeah, we've used Grubhub. Okay.
Well, Salt Lake City is just one step away from martial law, even though only the president can do that. She's having the police force enforce people walking on the street go home.
Yeah, she hasn't. Oh no, they said what, a year in jail and.
Oh, terrible! If you resist the police, if you
Well,
say,
that's-
"Hey, officer, I know you're really doing a good job and all that, but have you heard of the First Amendment and the right to assemble?"
Yeah, well, they can override that in times of war, and this has been declared a war.
Well, see, that's when you control the language, you control the outcome.
Drink your Mary's
That's why,
milkshake.
yes, I got my Mary's milkshake right here. That's why what we cannot treat, cure, prevent. What's the disclaimer we have to say all the time? Because we don't control, the pharmaceutical industry controls the language. And when you control the language, you control the industry.
Okay, so
we got to get to
for $29 a month, you can have the cheapest health insurance. In my opinion, the best. Now, it's not for crisis care. I'm not negating crisis care at all. Crisis care saved our son. My whole family are crisis care doctors and microbiologists and blah, 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 blah. It's an incredible modality. But for $29 a month, you can text us, Jack and I and our nutritionist, and ask any question you want. That's the cheapest thing I've ever seen. But better than that, well, maybe not better than that. You get 20% off all your supplements. So invest in your health. That's really important. Tell your friends. Now, here's where I want to talk about healing. Oh, I can't really say that word. Let's see. Supporting your underlying problem, because you don't want to wait till you have symptoms. And apparently if you get this COVID, you're a goner if you've got underlying symptoms, especially diabetes and heart disease. So I would recommend taking this free symptom survey. It doesn't cost you a thing, and strengthening yourself on a foundational level. Because 99% of those who died from this virus in Italy had other illnesses. So it's really important to take that symptom survey and start on the path to
great question.
Forbidden doctor healing. Okay, I'm just going to throw this up here real quick.
Great question just showed up that I want to answer.
Okay, hold on. So you go to our website, take the free symptom survey, you get a personalized supplement protocol at no charge, then go back to our website, sign in, and you'll see your very own supplement protocol sitting there. I'm telling you guys, this took a lot of programming to get our website to do this. So I'm really proud of our webmaster and everything
She
we've
means
done.
a lot of this.
Yeah, it took a lot of time, but it's not glitch free. Occasionally we have problems, but it's pretty good. And then you can also schedule a free 30-minute phone call. Go ahead.
Well, a question came up, how does this compare to the Spanish flu of 1918?
Well, they didn't, yeah, that was.
This is why I recommend you read Arthur Furstenberg's book, The Invisible Rainbow. Just prior to the outbreak, 1917, the early part of 1918, was the first installation of super high radio towers around the planet. The Earth has been electrified since about the middle 1700s, when in Europe they started playing with static electricity. You know, you walk across the floor on a wool carpet, snap, sap, you just kisses everything, the jokes they used to play to shock people. Well, they started developing that static power in the middle 1700s in Europe, eventually spread to the United States. Franklin put up his kite with the key and was credited with discovering electricity, which is silly. They've been playing with it in Europe for 50 years. And everywhere they started to institute what they back then called electrotherapy, people began to get sick. And there was warnings in Europe before the 1800s. Be careful with this stuff. They had this big wheel that they would turn that could generate 30,000 volts, very low amperage. And they would hit people. They even started doing electrotherapy for people who were mentally ill and other kinds of stage shows.
Hysterical.
And just, I mean, it was a carnival. It was a circus. But the doctors began to realize, wait a second, the people running these wheels, the people around these electrical fields started getting sick. They came up with this Dr. Beard, around the time of the Civil War, came up with this term neurasthenia, which just means weakness of the nerves. And he noticed that people that were involved, like with the early electric trains that they were experimenting with from Boston to New York, you have, and we have it right here in Salt Lake City with the tracks. You've got electrified track and electricity over top. You know, just hundreds and hundreds of volts. I think it's like 600 volts running the electrical motors inside these train cars around town. You are sandwiched in the middle of a tremendous electrical field when you're riding in these types of vehicles. Now, I'm trying to set the stage for the Spanish flu.
And this was electrical fields we weren't used to also.
Yes.
So our cellular structure was.
So there were experiments with radio, being able to use certain frequencies for AM radio. Marconi is accredited with the discovery of the radio. People were actually playing with it before then. But, excuse me.
Want some herbal throat spray?
So.
I feel like Vanna White. That has echinacea in it. It's an incredible product.
Anyway, with the discovery of the radio and the incredible communication device, just like when you started seeing these iPhones showing up, the smartphones.
Oh, I have a new 5G cover that I can talk on the phone without it hurting the 5G.
We haven't tested that yet, have we?
No, we need to.
Test. Anyway, with the discovery of the radio and mass communication that could take place, they had to have broadcast towers. So the latter part of 16, the beginning of 17, into the beginning of 18, was the establishment of these huge 60, 70, 100-foot radio towers of 50,000 watt capability that circled the globe.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And this was the first big quantum leap from the early electrical experiments of the 1700s into the 1900s, where the Earth's surface began to be heavily electrified.
1917?
1917 into 18, and the Spanish flu shows up in 1918. Now you jump up to 1957. 1957 was the first time that they started establishing, during the Cold War, huge radar facilities around the United States and other places around the planet. But I'm just using the United States as an example. From Washington, Oregon, Washington, all the way up to Nome, Alaska, on the east side from the Boston area all the way up through Newfoundland into Greenland. And massive radar signals back before they knew how to control radar a little bit better. Electrification, suddenly you have the flu pandemic of 1957. Jump to 1968 and the Hong Kong flu. Just before the Hong Kong flu came out, this is when we set up tens of thousands of satellites in space, directing up in the Van Allen radiation belt, directing electrical microwave energy to the surface of the earth for massive instantaneous communication before we had the cell phone. Then that brings you up till now. There's little incidences along the way, but those were the major quantum leaps. And now we're ready to make a new quantum leap with 5G. 1G was just the cell phone. 2G was the cell phone and texting. 3G was the cell phone that began to introduce data for, like the web. 4G was an expansion of 3G. And it's not like you got 1G, 2, 3G, 3, 4G.
And then 5G.
And then 5G.
Is nothing.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Huge difference. Can't we just stay on 4G?
You're jumping from a few kilohertz to as much as 35 to 300 gigahertz. And we always used to think of thermal energy, as microwave energy in our microwave ovens as creating a thermal effect. But now, due to these dedicated scientists around the planet coming out waving the flag, wait a minute, we know that just below thermal effect, it causes degradation of the DNA structure inside our cells. That's why I say this is an existential crisis.
It's a extinction crisis.
Well, that's just another way of saying it.
I guess so.
Okay, we've been, are we going to answer any questions?
I don't know. Actually, I'm just reading through them. Most of them were about coronavirus. There was a few about, I don't know, I can't remember, lupus, and we think we answered her on that. Somebody asked why you take 2 ProtoFood capsules per day. What's the value of taking this? ProtoFood is the 8 essential amino acids. And what do you need amino acids for? What do you need protein for? To rebuild strong collagenous fibers in your body, around your organs, your glands, your bones, everything. And ProtoFood is broken down protein into amino acids, and it's the 8 essential that you have to get. No, I already did that.
Oh, you already showed me?
I already did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's the 8 essentials that you have to get from your food. That's why they're essential. You have to get them outside of your food. Your body doesn't make these. Now, that's a really good product, and we take at least 2 a day. I do. He said, I don't know how he knew you took 2 a day, but
I must have said it on the radio.
You must have. But I also take CalciFood, which has all 22 amino acids, all of them. I mean, it's ground up raw bone meal, and it's raw. So that's in our Mary's Milkshake, the CalciFood powder. We also have it in wafers. And that's what that's for. Now you got the protein, but you need good fats and everything else to be able to build that collagen. So that's, as we started the podcast off, talking about my daughter-in-law that wants to not age, you got to be able to break down these proteins, and proteins, where am I from?
St. George.
I don't say things like that in St. George. Anyway, you got to be able to break them down and emulsify. So that's why Lee Enzymes is so good, because it's got the trypsin, the chymotrypsin, which scours your body for mutated cells. Then it has the lipase, the amylase, the protease. What else does it have? And all kinds of herbs, azase, and all kinds of herbs that help for sugar handling. And there's a study on there for one supplement or one nutrient in there that's anti-cancer. It's really scary to say that, but the trypsin and the chymotrypsin are super important to keep you healthy. So anyway, let's just read this disclaimer.
Yeah, you saw the other disclaimer. This is because people think I'm the forbidden doctor.
Yeah.
Or that Mary and I are the forbidden doctor. No. The forbidden doctor is that beautiful, marvelous, almost miraculous healing force inside you. It is that innate intelligence, that life force directed influence that triggered your DNA to guide the building of your body after conception.
It is that power that sustains your life, repairs your wounds and lesions, as well as your distress and disrupted actions deep in the several systems of the body. That essential part of you that keeps you alive and heals your every hurt. Medicine does not recognize the existence of this life force, hence it is forbidden.
Yeah.
And that actually goes on and on and on. Jack wrote that. It's so beautiful. It's in the foreword of my book, which I swear I'm going to get out this year. It's a wonderful statement of the forbidden doctor inside of you. You know, you heal from the top down, inside out. Not like my daughter-in-law that wanted to put all these creams on her face to keep her healthy. We need to have that soft, pudgy collagen that you had when you were a baby and you had a beautiful microbiome and everything else.
Jill asked a great question here. So we just go about life as normal? That's what I'm doing.
Well, we are in our clinic to follow the law.
Yeah.
We are sanitizing, which I think is cray-cray because we're killing all the weak bugs and leaving the bad bugs. But
I disinfect my hands between each patient.
I can't say
I consult with them
in
the office while they're out in the car.
I think, do you know when you get within 3 feet of somebody, that the mantle, I mean, the skin on you changes a little bit acidic to fight off any pathogens?
And she's, you know.
No.
I was going to say something, I decided not to, because your hands are too close to my head.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't know where this is going to go. I am absolutely confident that something else is going on.
Well, it is.
And, you know, because they're not honest in their reporting.
No.
They're not thorough in their reporting. And all the different agencies around the world that are virology based have different ways of measuring viral presence. And you can change how much you amplify the presence of that virus. And Pornima knows what I'm talking about. You can amplify to where you can do a sample and not see any viruses. You can amplify that sample till you get to the point, oh, there's a virus.
But if you go all the way.
But if you get up, if you're duplicating 40, 35, 45, if you're getting up to 60 cycles of amplification, suddenly they're all over the place.
Everybody will have coronavirus.
And you could give somebody hydroxychloroquine,
COVID.
Or you could give them vitamins, ascorbic acid injections, give them tons of zinc, and zinc is a good thing anyway. Or the Z-Pack. What are they calling that thing?
The AIDS patients take.
Whatever that thing is. And then if you drop that amplification cycle down to 40, suddenly the viruses disappear. Now, are they honest in coming out saying, well, we didn't amplify it so much this time?
No, nobody
and
has
COVID. And now they want to blame it on the vaccines. They want to blame it on vitamin C. They want to put all these causative factors made such a big difference. Or did their bodies just detoxify to the point where they stop shedding off this genetic material in the form of a virus through the wall of the cell? So
there's so much we don't know.
And so I can't watch the TV programs anymore.
But we do know how to rebuild our body. We do know.
That's what it comes down to.
Eat what you crave of
said.
Meat, eggs, fish, dairy, and spices. Meat as raw as you can. Eggs raw, like in Mary's milkshake. Dairy raw if you can get it. Meat, eggs, fish. Fish, I forgot fish. Super important. And I say red beef too. I think that's really important. That's another conspiracy has destroyed so much health in this country. Meat, eggs, fish, beef, eggs, and dairy. And spices. Got to have spices with your meat. Everybody tries to eat bland food thinking it's good for them.
And chocolate.
And chocolate, yes.
And chocolate.
You should be able to eat some chocolate.
Yes.
So maybe not at this time with
dark
everybody
chocolate. Make sure it's
out.
over 75.
Yeah, wow. Just, live your life, be happy, go listen to podcast 123. Everything's working out for you.
Are we not going to, what time? I mean, we've been
time.
It's an hour and a half.
You know what, most people registered and didn't leave a question.
I understand. Look how many people are still on here.
Well, I understand. There were a bunch of questions that came in, but all the hundreds that came in that registered, not very many asked questions. So I don't feel super bad. We can take those till next month.
Okay.
Because I'm sure this will just be hysterical next month also. We thought we'd do a little thing about coronavirus last month. We did the 5G and a few things, but this is just ridiculous. This is turning into massive catastrophe. So anyway, are there any more questions? I think that's it. So we are going to end this. This is the longest podcast we've done, and we'll move your questions when you register to next month if we didn't answer them in this day. So thank you very much, you guys. Want to say bye-bye?
Bye-bye. I have to contact our webmaster. He says, are you done? Do I publish?
Uh-oh. And
Did you disconnect yet?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. But we love you guys.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And we will see you next month.
No, wait a second. Before we go, just one last, I need to know if the idea of a hard copy newsletter interests you. Would you pay $39 for 12 issues spread out monthly over 12 months?
Okay.
I guess that's what monthly means, isn't it? I just need to know.
Okay. Bye-bye. See you next month.